All right, we are back with a brand new episode of Real in the Field, and today we've got a new guest, Orange Police Officer Kyle Buchan.
That's right. Kyle patrols the streets of Orange. More specifically, he's involved in the gang unit.
Yeah, we go into his beginnings, how he got started in the academy. We delve into a lot of his day-to-day as a police officer and just get to know what it's like to be a police officer in the city of Orange. So sit back, enjoy the episode. If you like what you hear, like and subscribe, and enjoy the show. Real in the Field. We are here with a new guest, Kyle Buchan, Orange police officer. He roams the streets of Orange and makes sure that you are safe. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. So we're just going to get straight into it. So obviously you're a police officer with Orange PD, and what we want to know is like, how'd you get into it? How'd you become an officer?
Yeah. So firstly, anything that I say on here is not going to be like reflective of anything that Orange PD these are my opinions. If there's any opinions or anything like that, I just have to throw that out there just in case I say something stupid, because I do.
This is purely Kyle's thoughts.
Just in case.
Purely like what he thinks does no reflection on Orange PD.
Yes, correct. Why did I become an officer? Well, I started out being a EMT. I was an EMT for 6 years.
Yeah.
I started out doing.
Were you a paramedic?
No, not a paramedic.
Okay.
Just EMT.
Oh, okay.
Started out at the horse tracks, like Los Al horse track.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to follow the riders in the ambulance on the track.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally on the track.
On the track,
right. And then if they get bucked off or whatever, there and you C-spine them and get them off. Yeah.
Did you ever have to?
Yeah. They're like children. They're so small.
Petite.
Oh,
they're very small.
Very
They're very, very petite.
Kind of like Prince, very petite man.
Yeah, so that's where I started, and then I got hired by a company called McCormick Ambulance.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's kind of like CARE, like Orange County Care.
Yeah.
Or at least it used to be.
Right?
Yeah, so it's all LA. So I worked in Inglewood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I worked there for 4 years, and did that. And at that time, let's see, that was like 2011 to 2015 or 2016, something like that. And I was in Inglewood pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, busy station, lots of calls. It was all 911 calls.
Okay.
So we were basically like the north end of Inglewood, and then the unincorporated area of South Central LA County.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we ran calls with the fire department. McCormick had a contract with them.
Yeah.
And I was one of those guys. The firemen are going to make fun of me. You always all cops. What do cops and firemen all have in common? They all want to be firemen. So I did. I thought that I wanted to go down that track, and there was just nobody was hiring.
Yeah.
So I stayed in EMT for a long time.
Yeah.
I think I was pretty good at it. I don't know.
Did you respond to like car accidents or like
everything? Gunshot wounds, car accidents, heart attack.
So we're EMTing it up, and then how do we go from that to where you're at now?
Yeah, so then I was just going to tell you the story that one of the stories that made me want to become a cop. So we roll up, same almost the same exact area.
Yeah.
We get called, dude shot his chick. And we're like with a shotgun GSW. So it's like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, whatever it was. We'll wake up, we go out there, because we work 24-hour shifts just like the firemen, right?
Yeah.
So wake up, go out there, staging out. They say like, hey, you're clear, because firemen, paramedics, EMT, they stage. Law enforcement goes in, they clear everything, make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, first responder, medical can come in, right?
Yeah.
So we're staging out. They say, hey, you're good to go. All right, we go in. Well, it wasn't clear.
Oh, shit.
The guy was hiding, supposedly, and me and my partner go down this alley, and the engine goes one way, we go another way because the engine bigger, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so we go another way, and I'm driving, my partner's sitting in the front seat, and some like bick down, big old cholo dude is running with a sawed-off shotgun, like 25 yards in front of us this way. So we're going west, and he's running north, like right in front of us. Luckily, I'm like, I slam on the brakes. I'm like, oh shit! I tell my partner, like, oh shit, get down. And luckily, there's a deputy sheriff, South LA deputy sheriff, that started coming the other way.
Yeah.
You know, we don't monitor their radio, so we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So luckily, he was coming the other way. Lights lights were on and everything, and it caught his attention. He looked that way and not at us. And then cops started, deputies started coming from everywhere, and we were like blocked in. They're like, get out of the way, get out of the way. I'm like, dude, I got nowhere to go. And they're like, just go that way. So I step on the gas and I take off. And
Dude, that is intense.
So I was like,
that inspired you
a little bit. Yeah, that was one of the reasons. I was like, man, like, their job is way cool. Like they get to do like
way cooler than me driving.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I felt like such a not like a little bitch, but just like, man, I felt helpless in that situation.
Especially I
like,
would imagine like these guys came to your rescue.
Yeah.
I could see that being like, they're there, they protected me in this situation.
Yeah.
And that's like, taking that away from that is probably, So that was like experience number one. What was like another one that kind of
and then just the experience with Inglewood PD. Like a lot of those guys were solid dudes, and I got along with a lot of them. And I actually grew up with like a lot of cops, and my parents' friends were all El Monte PD guys. And they just always told me, like, don't be a cop, you know? And so I was like, okay, I'll be a fireman, So, but when
what did your family think when you finally like said, hey, this is what I think I'm gonna do?
So, my father-in-law was one of the people that was like, hey man, you ever think about being a cop? And I was like, dude, it's funny you say that. Like I was working with him in construction stuff and doing stuff with him on my off days. And he started talking to me like, hey, like, what do you really want to do? Like, you should try it out, And you guys never met him, but coming from him, like if he's like saying, hey, you should maybe do this, like look into it, then it's like, all right, maybe I really
holds a lot
should.
of weight.
Yeah, it holds weight. At least it did at that time for me. So then I was like, oh, I might. So then I went on a ride along with Inglewood PD. I went on a ride along in El Monte. And I was just like, man, I think this is what I want to do. And I liked it. It was fun. Yeah. I liked the camaraderie. So, it's very similar. You're still out there, helping people. Yeah. Inglewood isn't my community, El Monte's not my community, helping people in general. And I had dealt with a lot of, in the EMT stuff, like a lot of gangsters and people getting shot and stuff. And I saw how, dude, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and innocent bystanders getting shot a lot of the times. Yeah.
That's probably a part of it that not a lot of people, like, you think about gang violence and you just think about gangs and, their, cohorts or whatever and what they're doing. But there's a lot of innocent lives that kind of get caught up in that. Family members or, friends or whatever that have to kind of deal with the aftermath.
Okay, so take us through like the academy and like, so eventually you do the academy, and how do you end up with Orange PD where you're at now? Like, what's that journey?
So I actually, I got hired with LA County Sheriff's Department first.
Okay.
So I went
jails.
Yeah. So I got hired as a deputy. I went through the academy in LA. It's called. They have 3 different.
Was it the military style one?
Yes. Yeah. So it's paramilitary or whatever
it's
they call
toned
it.
down
Right?
a little bit.
So it's called a stress academy. So they're supposed to stress you out.
Yeah.
Yelling at you, calling you names, all that stuff.
A little old school.
Just to show you what's in store.
Yeah. So it was actually it was cool because we the whole process. So you apply, you do a written test, you do oral You do
backgrounds. Did you have to do a polygraph?
Do a polygraph.
Yeah.
What else do you do? Psych.
Yep.
You do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they determine like, okay, we want to hire you.
Yeah.
Or not. They hired me. They gave me a start date. I think it was like 3 weeks before the academy started or something like that. 3 or 4 weeks. So I worked like another 2, or I put in my 2 weeks, worked 2 weeks, and then it was done.
Yeah.
And then you go to the academy. You have to buy a lot of that stuff that yourself. Just I don't
Like
know
the gear?
Yeah, you got to buy.
Really?
You got to buy a lot of stuff yourself.
Like a Kevlar vest?
No, they give that to you. They give a lot of stuff to you.
Yeah.
But you also have to buy like a lot of stuff yourself, like
Dude,
uniforms and stuff like that.
They say the same thing about the NFL. When a guy gets like released or he gets like let go from a team.
Does he have an invoice?
But I saw a thing of like if you want your stuff in the off season or you want like your pads, your helmet or whatever to like work out in or do stuff. We'll ask other guests about this, but like I saw a thing on TikTok and the guy was like, yeah, like my wife tried all my gear on. She's like, oh, like they gave this to you? And he's like, no, I had to like buy that.
Yeah.
So
And
you
he
had
was
to
like
pay
blown
for
away.
it?
So dude, you guys have to buy
Some things, like I bought a lot of my uniform. I think you buy all your uniforms.
Yeah.
You buy all your uniforms.
Well, at minimum, it's a tax write-off, right?
I was gonna say, what is a
Well,
uniform? What does a
passed.
uniform go
So
for?
when I got hired, they passed that new law where you couldn't. Well, it was like a couple years after I got hired, but you can't claim like your work stuff.
You can't deduct your uniform?
No,
Oh,
like,
man. We
people
gotta
used to
change some stuff
people used to
around here.
deduct like their cleaners, like they used to keep the receipts for the
Oh,
cleaners. They used to keep
Hey,
all that
that's
stuff.
fair. Look,
Yeah.
hey, look, you got to look sharp. There's
Yeah.
like a rule that you got to look, a
Well, it's
certain
policy.
way.
Yeah.
If it's policy, listen,
Yeah.
that's a write-off.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to have to do this, if I'm not forced to do that.
Yeah, so
So you
end
go
up-
straight to the jails, right?
Yeah, so you go to the academy, you do the academy. It's 6 months long. Mine was in East LA, so you're literally running through like hoods,
Yeah.
like neighborhood, like
Yeah.
Hispanic neighborhoods, gang neighborhoods, not but you run do like
East
3-4 miles or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think the longest one's like 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
I think the standard is a little soft. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it's that difficult. The academy is not that difficult.
Yeah.
If you're physically prepared. There's some people you're like, man, like this person's really doing this right now. There's obviously some people you'd look at and be like, man, I want that guy to show up. I'm not so sure about that. But people pass. But there is an attrition rate. People quit.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Well, I mean, I imagine like if
people
you're
get
gonna
fired,
have,
too.
if you're gonna have a partner going out, doing patrol with you, you want to have somebody who's in shape. If you got to chase someone down, you want to like rely on that person that they're going to be there with you, keeping up with you.
Yeah, especially when you're new. But yeah, you have tests, so you have to pass there's a curriculum that post. So California sets. They govern all academies in California.
Yeah.
So they're post standards that you have to meet. If you don't pass a test, you have one more chance. If you don't pass it again, you're done.
Can you reapply, or is it
So
just you're done?
so they will recycle
Yeah.
certain recruits that they feel like he's a good dude or he's a good chick or she's good, like we think she can make it or he can make it.
Yeah, give him another
we're giving him another chance.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will, but if you're a bad attitude or you're struggling physically, they're gonna be like, yeah, no, we don't want
Just
you.
move on.
Get out of here.
Let's just cut our
Yeah,
losses.
let's just
and
cut
move
our
on.
losses now. Yeah, and so it is a stress academy. So ours very first day is called Black Monday. You have to park all the way up on this hill. Ours, I don't know if they still do this or what, but we had to get in a bus like the Marine Corps. The captain at the time or lieutenant at the time was a big Marine Corps guy. He was in the Marines.
Yeah.
And so he liked that that whole thing. And it was scary because you're on a bus and the DIs are on the bus with you. Get on the bus, get on the bus. What are you doing? You know, yelling at you, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, dude. Like, so you show up and you got your big bag with like all the stuff that you have to have. They give you a big list of everything you're supposed to have every single day.
What was that
You
weight?
show up in a suit. I don't know, like 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it has your
So
gun.
heavy.
It has all your stuff in it, right? And you're in a suit. You're in a full suit.
Wait, a suit? Why a suit?
Every day we showed up to the
Like,
academy.
you're knotted up in a suit.
Yes, full suit every single day for 6 months. You showed up in a full suit, jacket, white shirt, tie, slacks, dress shoes.
Is that just like a mind trick kind of thing, or what's
No, it's like you should I don't know what it's like a attention to detail thing.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's like, oh, you forgot your tie today?
Yeah.
Push the floor. You know, oh, you forgot your shirt today. You know, people would forget stuff when we would show up straight to the East LA College to work out first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So people would forget like their tie or their button-up shirt or their jacket, and then be like, well, now you're screwed. Yeah. And so there was a lot of that's part of just like attention to detail.
Right.
The job is a lot about attention to detail and following instructions and all that stuff. So that's just pounded into your head.
Yeah.
So the first day we come down the bus, and you got to go from the bus to the locker room, and it is just lined with DIs the entire way. And every time you pass the drill instructor, you're supposed to say, sir or ma'am, by your leave, sir or ma'am, right? So, like, sir, by your leave, sir, every time you pass them.
Yeah.
Well, they're stacked up, like, every, 10 feet. So you're just like, sir, ma'am, by your leave, sir. You know, it's like, and the best one, I fortunately wasn't picked on because the guy that I was with was 6'6", just huge. So it's like, oh, laser beam, we're gonna screw with this guy, right?
Yeah.
So we passed a female deputy, and she was like, "What are you doing, crazy? You don't see me? What? Because I'm a female?" Like yelling at him. He's like, "Ma'am, no, ma'am." She's like, "What are you supposed to say?" He's like, "Ma'am, I don't know, ma'am." And she's like, "Why don't you phone a friend?" He's like, "Excuse me, ma'am." She's like, "Pick up the phone and call a friend." So he's like, and so he's like this, and I'm standing behind him, and she goes, "Ring, ring, ring, ring." And I'm like, just standing there, like trying not to get smoked. And she's like, "Pick up the phone, idiot." I'm like, okay. Hello? I was like, hello? And I'm seeing like other DIs like laughing and trying not to laugh, but like walk away from the situation just because we're getting absolutely smoked. He's like, recruit Buchan? What am I, like, he doesn't know me, Like, what am I supposed to say? I'm like, "Ma'am, by your leave, ma'am." He's like, "Ma'am, by your leave, ma'am." She's like, "Get out of my face!"
Oh, my God.
So that's first day. And then it's just like that for pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
You
Just stress you out.
Yeah, it's just stress, and you don't have to be that like crazy smart. Like you have to be able to read and like comprehend like a certain amount. Yeah. I'm not that smart. Like I got a 3.0, like 3.2, 3.0 GPA my entire high school career. Okay, like not terrible. Like I did my stuff.
Pretty good. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
You
But
just
like
be
I'm not a
diligent about
brainiac.
your stuff
Like
and
I
get it done.
can follow direction, right? And I got top 10 in the class.
Oh, damn, really?
Out of 80 something, 87.
Nice.
So it's not that difficult,
All right.
And like a lot of people didn't study at all. So
Yeah.
it's like
So it's like being diligent, like doing, like paying attention to detail, like you're saying, with all like making sure you're doing those things.
Yeah,
And
learning codes, learning
like learning those things, and then being able to kind of like bring them up when they ask you about them.
Yeah, scenarios. You go over scenarios. You do scenarios.
Okay,
and
so
stuff
the
like
academy
that.
ends, then you head to the jails.
So yeah, then we go to the jail because when you get hired with the sheriff's department, you have to work in the jail.
So how many years did you do at the jail?
Almost 4.
4 years.
Almost,
wow.
yeah.
What's mandatory, and then how long did you just stay?
It all depends on what station you want. So you have like a wish list.
Yeah.
It's like 3 stations, or at least when I was there, it was 3 stations. I think it's changed sometimes.
Yeah.
But you put in the the stations that you wanted to go to. I wanted to go to Carson, and it just took a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also when you're in, so they do like if you get an IA's like internal affairs investigation,
Yeah.
but at the time, you would get an IA like if an inmate complained about you, or if you used use of force or something like that.
Right. Is that like automatically trigger like a?
Yeah, not all uses of force, but if like they have injury.
Yeah,
Or,
something that has to
something
be
where
reported.
they go to the hospital or
Right,
something like
right,
that.
right.
So
and it's got to get followed up with
yeah,
the
that
report.
held me up once. So
Yeah.
and then I just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be here. It's a great department. I have nothing bad to say about it. There's a lot of great traditions there.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I'm a big history guy. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
So walking the hallways, and like they have a hallway at Men's Central Jail. It's this big
Downtown.
Yeah, the downtown one.
Yeah.
Twin Towers is
right.
connected to it.
Right.
Twin Towers doesn't hold GP. GP is general population.
Yeah, right.
Is all Men's Central Jail.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Twin Towers is all mental psych ward. So
I see.
Twin Towers is I don't know if it's changed, but is the largest psych ward in like the United States, like the free world
really?
or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Something crazy. Like there might be a bigger one like North Korea or China or something.
Yeah.
But we don't know. But
That's right.
it's
We don't know about
massive.
that.
It's the largest supposedly.
Housing.
You can fact check me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been told.
Wow.
It's huge. It's 7
Interesting.
floors, and it's all psychs.
Yeah. Did you ever work in Twin Towers? Did you ever
No,
do-
so I worked IRC, inmate receiving.
Right.
So all the intake stuff. So
Yeah.
everybody coming off the street or coming. So if you're in prison and then you have to come back to fight a case, you will come back through IRC.
Man, so you saw the worst of the worst. You got it all.
Yeah,
got
you see
full scope of
everybody, every type of individual. Like when you have to get booked into jail,
Pass
you go
through-
through IRC.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
then-
you're doing like fingerprinting, pictures, like you're doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
So there's booking front, there's classification, so you classify everybody, and then they go to medical. Medical is gnarly because it was just so backed up all the time.
Yeah.
They have to see a medical doctor. They have to see a psych. I mean, there'd be people laying on the floor. I mean, it was packed sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just packed, and it's like musty and it smells.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. And then there's we would have like a temporary holding area for it was eye opening. It was great to learn. It was great for me to talk to inmates. That's the thing that you need to learn the most, I think, when you're new into law enforcement is how to talk to guys.
Yeah.
And
Understand their
you're,
lingo,
especially
understand-
criminals,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're surrounded by criminals. So
Yeah.
you might as well talk to them, get to
Man.
learn things.
So you get out of the men's jail. Do you go straight to Orange PD?
Yeah, so I was about to go to Carson Station, and I had made a decision, like, you know what, I got to get out of LA. Like, just too many horror stories of, you make one error. It's a job where your whole life is turned upside down, and it's a second.
Yeah.
You don't have time. You have to react. You could injure yourself, you get your partner injured, and over there's, at least in my opinion, and those guys that are out there doing it, guys and girls that are out there doing it at those stations, I have a lot of friends that are still doing it, and it's like the extra weight of knowing, like, if I screw up, this city council or this county board members are not going to be on my side, I'm going to get, at least that's how I thought.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could work somewhere else. I don't need to work.
You don't need the added stress.
Yeah.
Well, you
To
want
the-
to
to an
feel
already
And
stressful
like,
job.
and my biggest thing is my wife's very successful, and I would never want to do something I would never do something on purpose to like maliciously,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's always that thing where it's like you screw up and you make the wrong decision, and all of a sudden, like, you're, in the media now, it's like you're the bad guy, and you got people lining up out in front of your house and like doing all this crazy stuff, doxing you, and there's a lot of stories like that. And I was like, I don't want to put my wife through that, and I don't want anybody to come after our stuff because
Sure.
And her lose what she's worked for.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, just kind of related. Like, in your opinion, are there bad cops? And if there are, like, what's the percentage of good to bad?
Okay, so we're at full disclosure. We were talking about this a little bit off before we started this. I actually hate this question.
Yeah.
And nothing against you guys. Like, nothing. I'm not calling you guys out. You don't ask this question, really. You don't ask, are there bad firemen? Are there bad doctors? Are there bad? Like, think about how many people, how many professions you actually ask that about.
Yeah.
Are there bad teachers? I'm a teacher. I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Teachers do as well.
Yeah. I get that question all the time.
Teachers do as well. Are there bad teachers? Teachers are one of them that do.
Yeah.
But when you say, are there bad, like, what do you mean?
Are there people who should not be in that profession that are in that profession?
So I think that there are people who, short answer is yes. Like, I think that there's people that should not be doing that job.
Right. You could
to
ask
my
the
standard.
Yeah.
To
you
my
could,
standard.
You could ask me the same thing from the teaching standpoint. Are there teachers who shouldn't be teachers?
From my standard.
1,000%.
From my standard, and I'd be lying to you if I said, like, no, every cop is fully capable of doing their job.
Yeah.
I try, like, especially coming from a bigger department, they take a lot more people.
Yeah.
The standards are a lot looser.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact.
Yeah.
The standard has been lowered for a lot of people, and
society in general.
Society has done that in general for a lot of things, and it's in our profession, it's not safe. And you can ask any police officer, deputy, sheriff, whomever. I don't know, you're a teacher, whatever it is.
I teach PE.
You can ask anyone out. Like, there's always going to be a few where you're like, man, there's always going to be those people where you're like, I want that girl or that girl, that guy or that girl to show up. I'd rather have them. Yeah. And then when, Deputy Doofy shows up, you're like, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the stress level goes up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And there's different reasons for that, right? People are better at different things.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is getting out of hand a little bit. Like, this guy's getting a little combative, or like, I can tell this is going to go sideways right now. And I got this dude with me. Like, I need another person here. Yeah. Like, I got to ask for help. Something like that.
It just makes practical sense when you just talk about any profession.
And I would say that's more like working the jails. Like, there's people that get very, very comfortable there. And I was put in situations, not so much out on the street that have been in Orange, but in the jails, you're like, I've been in situations where I'm like, dude, I got this like 6'6" dude like wanting to fight me right now. He's straight off the street, and he's still high on meth, or he had something keistered and he just took a bump right now, and like he's on something. And I got this dude that like should be retired, but he's working the line with me right now, and like this chick that doesn't want to be here. Yeah. Like, and I'm like, well, it's me and you, dude. And there's no one else around, and he's like squared up on me, and I'm like, well, I gotta take this dude down. Like, he's got the reach on me, So, and that's what I ended up doing, and you just learn through those types of situations. So the point is like, yes, like, do I? Like I said, not in Orange, but in other situations, there's been like times where I'm like, dude, like, I can't believe that this person still shows up. You
Yeah.
know, and
I mean, so how do you remedy that? I mean, you got, training. I'm sure that you guys do continuous training and always like trying to keep yourselves ahead of the people that you're dealing with. How important is training? And, if those other officers, some of the ones that maybe are, kind of faltering a little bit, like if they got more training, would that, I mean, it's an easy question to answer. Would it be beneficial to them? But how important is that? How important is continuous training?
yeah, so we do we have to qualify like every quarter, right? So you have to qualify with your firearm. We are constantly doing training stuff. In my opinion, I think there's too much focused on like PC stuff, like how to deal with a mentally ill person and how to deal when you're with someone of sexual abuse, like how to talk to them, things to say. It's like, dude, we all know how to talk to these people. Like those aren't the things that we need training on. Like we need like hands-on training, like practical stuff. We need to situational stuff. That's what I think. But these are things that are passed down from post that our department has to do to be in compliance. And it's not like a department issue. I'm sure there's a lot of things that our department wants to do, but they have to do these other things. So it's just
well, who's that?
And I'm very, very low on the totem pole, right?
Well, who's that head shot caller to where it comes down the line and then eventually it does get to someone like you? Like, who's the person that makes that decision?
Well, the chief is the guy at the top, right? Chief.
Right,
chief
but is chief taking orders from somebody else?
So
like
here,
pulling the strings.
So every police department that has a chief of police, his boss or her boss is the city council. That's who they have to.
Okay.
That's who they
answer
to. That's why during all the COVID stuff, during all the BLM stuff, you don't hear chiefs talking a lot. Because city council can remove them at any point in time. If they wanted to. Deputy sheriffs are appointed. They're elected.
They're elected.
They're elected officials, so they can say whatever they want. They can do whatever. Like that's why Villanueva, LA County. That's why he was able to do a lot of stuff in LA. Because he was elected. I mean, they're kind of like politicians.
Elected to do a job.
Well, you have that liberty to do what the people or what people are supporting you want you to do. And if there's a lot of, if you're just going by politics and going to save your job, you're going to do whatever the city council is going to.
Like Villanueva, he went to Santa Monica. I think it was Santa Monica or Venice or one of those cities. And there was huge homeless encampments, right, all along the thing. And he said, "Hey, if LAPD chief doesn't want to do anything about it, I'll send my deputies down there. We'll take care of it. We'll handle all this." And he went down there and they started clearing all that stuff out. Because the chief of LAPD would have been fired. He would have been removed from his position.
Said, hey, that's not our political stance right now. You're going against what we want.
So deputy sheriffs have more leeway on stuff like that. But that's way above my pay. I don't know much about like the ins and outs of that stuff. And like I know what I think needs to be more done, like as in training wise. Like I used to go jiu-jitsu with you. Right. But again, that was something that I paid for myself because I felt that it was important to do. I have a standard. I want to keep myself safe, but I also have a standard of like professionalism of my partners relying on me. That's my worst fear, right? I get messed up or I get hurt, I get shot, whatever the case is, right? And it's my fault. At least it sucks. I don't want that to happen. But at least it's my own doing, right? If I do something and one of my partners is hurt, injured, killed, like that would be way harder for me to live with. Because that was my own lack of
Your shortcomings.
Yeah, my shortcomings, like whatever instance it was, right? Yeah. And that's my worst fear.
Yeah. So that's your motivating factor.
That's my motivating factor, and that's
good.
And even being knowledgeable with the things that I need to do at work, like that's just my driving thing. Is I want my partners to be able to rely on me to know that I can do the job.
And you're hoping they're doing the same.
And I'm hoping that they're doing the same thing. And for the most part, they are.
Yeah.
Like, 99%. So you ask, like, are there bad, like, what's the percentage of bad cops? I couldn't put a percentage on it. Like, not prepared. I don't know. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot. I think there's way more police officers that are prepared, are knowledgeable, are at least in California. Yeah. You see some of these things on YouTube and stuff of these guys in Arkansas or Alabama, and they're like getting way out. They're they fall for the bait. They fall, and the thing is they make us all look bad. And it's like, dude,
I think that's the big thing. That's the big takeaway
Minnesota, Derek Chauvin or whatever, Chauvin. Like like, dude, you can't. The Memphis stuff that just happened, like that makes all of us look bad, and that is a very, very, very small percentage. If you look at everyone or law enforcement as a whole across the country, and I'm speaking for all of law enforcement. I'm obviously not all law enforcement, but I know from the guys that I've talked to, girls that I've talked to, when they see dudes doing bad things or people doing bad things on duty, abusing their powers and stuff like that, I hate that more than anything. Like that pisses me off because it's like, okay, so you get in trouble, you got to do whatever you got to do, but that long-lasting effect on all the rest of us is terrible.
Yeah. It's the same thing as a teacher when you get some teachers who do stuff, and you're like, never in a million years would I like do anything like that. And then there's these or a coach does something, you're like, dude. That has never crossed my mind. I would never do anything like that.
But that's also like it's very hard to hire right now in law enforcement. Is like the people that are wanting these jobs, like it's a tough to hire. Quality, but it's tough to know how someone's actually gonna be once they're out there and they're doing things right. That's why the training in everybody goes through FTO, field training officer portion. Ours is like 4 months. Some places is 6 months. That's why that's so huge, and like your people get fired all the time. Like a lot of guys don't make it out of field training. Like you go through the whole academy, you go out to the street, you go through FTO, and then you get fired. Like it sucks. And you kind of feel bad. Like I have a heart. I feel bad for those people. It's like they thought they were going to have this career. They thought they were going to, and then it's like, dude, you're just not cutting it. But the thing is like, do you want that person with you? Do you want that person showing up? It's like, no, and it's not for everyone. And it's like, this is just one of those jobs where it's like, it's not for everyone. And if you can't do the job, then you can't, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Like it's just, and I'm not saying like I'm better than them because I can do the job and they can't. They're probably a lot better at a lot of other things than I am. I'm not great at computers. Like I know nothing about just that statement alone, right? I'm not good at computers, right? Like it doesn't. I'm not technologically savvy, right? Like all this stuff, like I would never be able to figure it out. So like that's where my and my partners have to help me out with that stuff because a lot of our stuff's computer based now. So
that's good.
All right. Well, on that computer-based topic, we're gonna take a break. That's when we cut to commercial here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll hear a spot from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back right after this. This episode is brought to you by Cigar Spots of Orange. Cigar Spots is located in the Circle of Orange.
They have all the top brands of cigars and accessories, including my favorite, the Tatuaje Black Label. What are you going with?
That's a good cigar. I'm going with the Padron 1964. That's a hard cigar to come by. If all you cigar lovers know how hard it is to get that cigar. But they also do home delivery. You can actually place the order online and have it delivered to your home if you live within the Orange County area. Or you can go and pick it up in store. You can order online, go to the store and pick it up. I did that recently when we were going out to dinner, needed to get a cigar on the way out, picked it up in store, and I was off.
When you were online, did you enter a promo code by chance?
Oh, yeah. Put in that promo code Tony Joe, got myself 20% off there. So visit cigarspots.com, and like Joe said, enter that promo code Tony Joe to get yourself that 20% discount. All right, and we are back with Kyle, the police officer from Orange PD. All right, so we want to get into, might be a little bit of a controversial topic here, but just a couple years ago, the big defund the police movement it came on pretty strong, like really hard for was it 2020, somewhere around there. A lot of people kind of just piggybacked on that. I mean, I feel like it was like a big slogan that everybody just kind of like, whoever defunds the police, like a publicist was, like did a great job of just kind of spreading that around. But how did it affect the police force? Like at that time, were you in Orange PD at that time?
Yeah.
So how did that play out? Like what was like the kind of like the temperature? What was like the feeling when, that stuff was going around?
How has it changed law enforcement? I think you talk to the older guys, it was the same kind of deal with like the Rodney King riots.
Yeah.
Talk to them, and it's like there's ups and downs, right, in society, supporting you, being against you.
Yeah.
9/11 happened, and everybody loves police officers, loves firefighters, right? Will do anything for you. You got people in the entire lunch line that want to buy you lunch, which we don't need, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just using that example.
Right.
So there's ebbs and flows. Will we ever come out of this? I don't know. It's too, I'm a young officer. I don't know everything, but for as far as this city goes, we never really felt it for the most part. People would roll down their window and like say, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like this city loves the police for the most part.
Yeah.
Like 90%, I'm just throwing out a random high percentage. But majority of this community loves Orange PD, supports us, supports the fire department. Like this city really does support the first responders in general. And we appreciate that a lot, because I know from a lot of my friends that still work in LA, it is not like that over there.
It's not the temperature.
And we still run in, people pass through. There's a lot of freeways that run through the city. So, you do run into people. Chapman U is in our city. Yeah. So, you get a lot of younger kids that feel they're very educated and know a lot of stuff. Yeah. And it's like, hey, have you graduated from high school yet, or college yet? No. How many classes have you taken on this? What's your life experience on this? Because I can tell you mine. You should listen to me. You shouldn't act like this. Yeah. Like, you will get arrested for doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm just letting you know. So I would, in this city, we didn't feel it as much. We did have the protests, or like the whatever it was.
I remember that.
In the circle. I was there for that. I was up on one of the rooftops, like doing obs up there with one of my partners. That was kind of crazy, people like screaming, yelling once they saw that we were up there, like telling us to jump and kill ourselves, and just saying some pretty crazy stuff. There's a dude there. I'll always remember this. There's a dude there riding a skateboard with his son. His son couldn't have been any older than 12 years old, like 12 at the max, right? Had to have been like anywhere from 8 to 12. And he's yelling at us, flipping us off, F you, kill yourself, let's see if pigs can fly, jump off that thing, like all this stuff, right? and his son is right next to him, flipping us off, yelling at us. That was like, I was like, whoa, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
To be indoctrinating
that
your kid at that age. Thinking, there's a lot of hate out there. People were, they're saying a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah. And it's just like, for people asking for so much peace, man, they really didn't go about it in a peaceful way. And I don't know. I don't respect that sort of mentality at all. Yeah. Obviously, this is America. You can protest whatever you want. Yeah. You can go. That's what we do. Yeah. I don't have anything wrong with protesting. I don't have any problem with people expressing their rights, doing what is legal, all that stuff. Yeah. But when you start doing stuff that just is not like that, none of that stuff's going to help anything. Yeah.
No, it's pretty vile stuff when you're doing, calling for people's death and telling them to jump off a roof.
It's just uncalled for. I would never ask of them to do that. Like, I don't want any of those people to kill themselves or die or, like, I don't know anything about them. Yeah. They don't know anything about me. Yeah. I'm a pretty normal person. Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of gets me is, someone that's in your family that's in law enforcement. Yeah. I have someone in my family that's law enforcement. And like, they're just regular people. Yeah. And that's what I feel like gets lost, where people just think, oh, like, these people, they're bad and they're out to, like, well, they're not, dude, they're just regular people.
Too, like the point that we were talking about earlier about, how things just get grafted onto everybody. Those cases that were talked about earlier just get grafted onto all police officers. And so now you have this kind of movement of, people want to see harm to police officers or want to see, like what we talked about, being defunded. I think it's just it's something that kind of catches on, and then people just kind of gravitate towards it for whatever reason. But it's not a beneficial thing. I mean, if you look kind of statistically about what defunding police and what it does to certain areas, I mean, it does the complete opposite of what, the intended purpose is.
Defunding is the exact opposite of what you would want. It's just, like, I don't know. Like, taking away money, you think that's going to make it better? Well, we already have issues with training and getting the right equipment and getting the right type of people. You think taking away money to man a force to protect your city, what, like, if you don't want to pay those people properly, or what kind of people do you think are going to apply for that job? What kind of people do you think you're going to get? You think it's bad now? It's like defunding. You were talking about training and all that stuff earlier. Like, our department does like a fairly good job of training us. Like, we do like every year we do like hand-to-hand stuff that we train with. We do shooting. We do rifle. You have to do rifle training every 6 months. So like, if you have a rifle, you have to qualify and do like the training with the rifle. Yeah. So like, there's a lot of stuff that they do, right? Yeah. But there's still a lot of other things that we could do to make it better, to help people, like to help officers, and like, it's my belief that there's more that we should be doing so we could do things better, because I think in a lot of these videos that I watch and stuff on YouTube and all, the news and stuff, I think a lot of this stuff can be avoided, deadly force or force that ends up looking bad, because it's all perspective. Right?
Yeah, sure.
If you don't know what you're watching, you don't know what you're looking at.
Lead up to the moment you're watching.
The lead up to, right? All that stuff. Like, it's all perspective, and it's really the optics of things. And like, we would be in a lot better position if people were confident in grabbing people, holding on to them, taking them down. Confident in themselves. Right. Because once you're not, then that leads to other things.
Yeah,
And we've seen those things, and it's that LA County deputy, that female, some homeless dude, she was like trying to kick him out, and he's like being verbally, I'm summarizing the entire thing, but long story short, she like pushes him, and she's like, "Don't push me." She draws her weapon immediately.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like that kind of confrontation. Like, you got to close the gap, take him down.
Yeah.
Hopefully your units are close. Call for extra units, right? Defunding the police in that situation, you got units way far away.
Yeah.
You're way more likely to get more people killed
Yeah.
because people are going to get scared.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, to your
so
point, yeah.
so this chick, she ends up drawing her weapon. The guy keeps and she freaking shoots him twice.
Yeah.
And he has no weapon in his hand.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't know what her mindset was. I don't know, a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had previous things with this guy. I don't know. Right? I'm just seeing the video that they put out, the department put it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm just watching it and I'm like, man, that is bad. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, is that a result of, taking away funds from a city to have, like you were talking about, like having other officers nearby? If you're cutting funding to the police force, you have to cut hours, because it's not just like cutting money and then you're not going to get like weapons, or you're not going to get new uniforms. Like, you're cutting hours, you're cutting man hours, and the amount of police officers that are going to be out
But I
there
think that's
patrolling.
what people think when people are like, "Oh yeah, let's defund them. Let's take away their
Yeah.
let's take away their nightsticks and let's take
Yeah,
away that."
well,
But I think that's what
that's what
the
people
people
think.
who
I mean, when
who
you're
think
talking about-
who
it's
think
a-
that's what they think they're taking away.
I mean, it's the money that's going to policing is payroll, is overtime, is I don't know, maybe even pensions. Like, if you're gonna, like, if you have a budget to bring on new recruits, you have to kind of earmark some like pension for them, things like that.
And it's taken away from. So if we're going to take a cut, all those people, all the records clerks, all the dispatchers,
Yeah.
all of those people are going to take a cut too.
Yeah.
Those people aren't going to keep their jobs. All these city workers aren't going to keep their jobs. Like, you defund the police, you defund a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Right?
Never
And
thought
that
of
goes,
So
towards, that
there's-
goes towards response time.
There's a
That
lot of
goes
people that you
to-
don't see behind
Yeah.
the door, behind the scenes.
Well, even that scenario, if you have, an officer that's there by herself, just taking on, going to a call by herself, and maybe that's a result of, defunding the police department, so you don't have now people going out, or officers going out in tandem. Maybe now you have to kind of spread them out a little bit because you're a little short-staffed, so this police officer is going out on her own. That could be kind of a direct result of defunding. Now you got someone dead because of an officer that, whatever the reason is, they're either scared for their life because they're by themselves doing that. Now, if you have another officer, let's say you're there, you know what I mean? How's that scenario change? You have that same exact transient coming at you guys. Like, how does that situation change for you?
Oh, you got to, in my opinion, you got to close the gap. You got to control, like, first off, like verbal like de-escalation, right? They always talk about de-escalation.
Yeah.
But like de-escalating doesn't always mean like, hey, sir, calm down, or hey, ma'am, calm down. Like, that doesn't work a lot of the time. Majority of the time,
Well, when someone's
that shit
fired-
doing
when
work.
someone's fired up, that
Yeah.
you're not gonna
like
talk
you
to
have
them.
to be assertive.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Like, that's how people respond. Like, oh man, like maybe I screwed up
Yeah.
here. Like
Dude,
you have to be in control.
Yeah.
And like your appearance, they teach you in this academy, your appearance, how you dress, how you look, how you're coming off just by when I look at you
Yeah.
is the first thing.
Yeah.
Right?
You get a
That's
read off
huge.
of,
And that's one of the first things that I learned in the jail.
Yeah.
You have to have, luckily I'm a bigger dude. So I have that going for
got
me.
that, built
right?
in, yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, you have to be assertive.
I think in
That's a good point.
context, and, put somebody in your shoes.
Yeah.
Put somebody in your shoes and live the day to day of what you deal with, and figure and put them in that situation and see if they would kind of have that same.
Yeah, and I think
situation.
we're scrutinized, just way more, and going back to like the riots or
Yeah.
protest things that we were at, and people were telling us to kill ourselves,
Yeah.
calling us Nazis and
Yeah.
white supremacists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like we're just supposed to take all that,
Yeah.
right? We're supposed to run down our back, and we're supposed to take. It's part of this. That's part of the reason why they do this Stress Academy stuff.
For those.
You should be yelled. You should be able to be yelled at, made fun of, totally embarrassed, right? And you're just supposed to take it and sit there. Okay, all right. And you're supposed to keep your cool.
But there's got to be
And-
a little bit that gets in there.
Well, dude,
For
we're,
sure.
like I said, we're human. Like, you don't know what that person's dealing with at home. You don't know what that person dealt with just 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know? That the same officer that is dealing with some dude that just beat the shit out of his wife, or wife beat the shit out of or her husband, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And they're coming at you, and they're coming at you with all their problems, right? And you're like, dude, I just got yelled at my wife for like 45 minutes, Yeah. And she was telling, some of these guys are in relationships, and it's like, not me personally, but like some of these other guys, they're, in some, people just don't work out, and they're going through divorces or whatever. And I'm just using an example, but, some dude's wife just said, you're never going to see your kids again.
Yeah.
And then you show up to a call, and this chick's telling this dude, you're never going to fucking see your kids again. And he's like, well, shit.
Correlation.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you want to say to him?
Yeah.
You know what? You get,
Yeah.
So it's like, cops are humans. They're going to you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, no matter what.
Yeah.
And like that like you just do, and now it's captured on video. So it's like you just have to, when you do make a mistake, you own up to it. You say, I screwed up.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think a lot of that is like perspective, like what we're talking about, people, like how they view these situations. They've never been put in those situations before. I think one of the realizations what I had when in seeing like a police officer's day to day was actually going on a ride along. My brother-in-law, like I mentioned before, is works for Riverside PD, and I went on a ride along with them, and I saw just that one experience, that one day that I did it, the kind of stressors. I mean, mind you, this guy's been he's worked for Riverside PD for a number of years. He's been like tested, he's gone through it, and he's like I don't know if you would say jaded, but he's been kind of like he's got a callus to these things. Mm-hmm. For me, going into that, seeing that stressor and seeing just like the peak of your stressor in one situation, it was a lot. It was a lot for just someone who hasn't been through those things like you guys have been through. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was beneficial to me to see like that perspective, something that I've never even thought about until I've actually like went in there and saw his day to day. So, I mean, do you think that's like beneficial for everybody to do a ride along?
Absolutely, yeah. We actually have a Citizens Academy where it's I don't know how many weeks long it is, but I think it's like once a week for a few hours a night or something like that. Yeah. And you have to live in the city, I think. And you get like the gang unit comes in, tells you about gangs, and then like the SWAT does a thing for them, like tells you what the SWAT team does. Yeah. Detectives come in, tell you what detectives do. You kind of get like a full aware. It's not really an academy. It's just like learning about your police department, what we do, how we do it, why we do certain things, stuff like that. It's a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more eye-opening. So I think it's great. And then you do a ride-along, too. Yeah. And I was in there last week doing giving our gang little rundown to them. Yeah. PowerPoint thing. Yeah. And, they're super. A lot of those people are super interested and they want to know everything, and it's cool. And they were giving like a summary of their ride-alongs, and people were like, "Man, I didn't realize they did this, and I didn't realize they did this." And it's good to see how we actually do stuff, and then see it be done, see things be done, and then have an instant like, "Hey, why'd you do it that way?"
Yeah.
And then you have an officer, you're sitting in the front seat of a cop car, and you're like, "Oh, that makes more sense why they're like that," you know? It's like, "Hey, why were you so quick to like jam that dude, like grab him and put his hands behind his back?" It's like, well, yesterday I actually, had a similar stop, and a guy had a gun in his waistband.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't so forceful and quick to search him, and the guy was standing there talking to me for 20 minutes with a gun in his waistband. Now I'm a little bit more, and that's all stuff they teach you in the academy, but as you're out there, as you're doing things by yourself, you get a little bit more lax,
Yeah,
and
as
so
time goes on, like these things, you just kind of like get more relaxed.
Yeah, so like certain things, like, oh man, I'm never gonna do that again. Like, oh shoot,
I
like,
learned a lot
that
on
was
the ride
less
along
sketchy.
that I went on. It was really cool. Dude, everyone should do it.
I think you
with your
learned a lot.
brother.
Yeah, I'm with my brother, and it was like, dude, certain calls, and like there was a theft thing, and then there was a domestic abuse thing, and then there was like, dude, and you just hit this wide range of stuff, and it's like, wow, this is like.
That's one night of doing it, right? The ones that we went on.
It was like 2 hours. It wasn't even a full thing.
I've talked to my brother-in-law about this since that, and it's been years since that's happened, so I'm sure a lot has happened in between that time. But when I first kind of talked to him about it after we did it, it was like so far out of his mind. I mean, he couldn't remember exactly. I mean, that is like imprinted in my mind. I'll forever remember the faces and all the people that were involved in all those different calls that we went to. Mm-hmm. But for him, this was just a regular Friday night or Saturday night.
I'll put it this way. I get subpoenaed for court.
Yeah.
And there's a name on there, and there's a charge. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. What am I going to court for this? And I got to once I read the report, I'm like, oh.
It'll kind of conjure up some memory.
That guy that time.
But, to talk, to just speak on that, kind of your experience and what other people just don't know about your experience and police officers' experience as a whole. There is so much that you guys go through on a day-to-day basis, so much that you put up with, so much that you've grown a callous to. Because, like we said many times in this podcast, which is you guys are dealing with the evil of society. You're not dealing with the best that society has to offer. You're dealing with the worst. And so every day that you go out there, you're dealing with some new kind of experience like that.
Or dealing with a problem that no one else wants to deal with.
Dealing with that problem,
Which is the majority of the time.
Yeah. And so I think, for me, seeing that, and I've always had a respect for police officers, but seeing that firsthand experience on that ride along was pretty eye-opening. I think that'd be something that a lot of people would benefit from, to see, just to have some perspective, to see what you guys go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it'd be huge. And there's actually, just perspective-wise, there's a guy, he was like a big social justice leader guy, and he was against cops and all this stuff. And I think it was Phoenix PD invited him out to do like a training with them.
Really?
And they gave him like a fake gun and a taser, and they put him through a bunch of scenarios. And he shot everybody, shot unarmed guys, shot all these dudes. And they were like, "Hey, bro, why'd you shoot that guy?" And he was like, "He came at me." And they're like, "He's unarmed." He got out of his car and he was going to ask you a question. He came at me aggressively. They're like, how? Because he had a red suit on? So it's good to I think if people actually thought about it that way, I think they'd be and I think most people do. I think it's just this loud minority of people that are
you're right. It is. I think for the most part, people understand how difficult this job is, and just how much that police officers do for whatever city that they're in. It's just that loud part that you're talking about. And, if they got some perspective, that would be the group to put on a ride along to show them what this job is about.
I get what you're saying, but those Like they are so fixed on one way. Like politics has become so much of a religion. It's like you just it's such an ideology.
You're
now
with us or
that-
against us. That's kind of
yeah,
like the
and it's
mentality
like
that
that you
it's
can't
been.
change their mind anymore.
Yeah.
You know, when I was working in the jails, like some dude would call me a racist pig, Nazi, whatever. You know, I'd be like, hey man, tell me why I am.
Yeah.
Tell me why. You got that badge on. You're no different than them. Like, who's them? Tell me.
Yeah.
And you break it down and, like, you try to, like, talk to them. And all of a sudden, their whole thing breaks down. They're like, oh, whoa, you know. And it's like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
That's what it's.
You're
it
repeating
is.
something that you heard
That's all it
from
is.
somebody.
Just regurgitating the information
And,
that they got from somebody else. It's these are just kind of talking points, and they're just like, you know, you can hit on these things and just kind of regurgitate these little sound bites, but you know, really they're not like they're based in nothing. You know,
and rarely did I ever change their mind. So there's like one guy that I had a conversation with, and so it's just
it'd be an uphill battle for sure. But at minimum, I think it would, you know, even if you got a couple, you know, that'd be a good thing to do. Maybe that we'll do on, I don't know if Orange PD would allow it. You know, go out on a ride along just to kind of get like a behind the scenes on like what it's like in a day. You know,
if you live in the city, you can sign up for one.
Yeah,
and you can. I don't know if they allow you to film or whatever, but
hey, this is public domain, okay?
Yeah.
I'll record whoever I want.
you are in the public. You are in the public.
Oh man! All right. Well, this is going to be kind of a hard transition into this, but it's something that we've kind of wanted to talk about because, you know, in the topic of criminals and gangs and all that is the big fentanyl like crisis. We've all know of like some celebrity that's like, you know, succumbed to a fentanyl overdose. They've had it laced with it. How big is that in gang community? How big is it in just, you know, in our community? I mean, you hear about it on kind of like a national scale, but how big is it on a local scale here in
Well,
Oregon?
they're saying fentanyl's in everything now.
Yeah.
It started out, they were cutting it into heroin, and then because it is, it's a synthetic opiate.
So is fentanyl going in there for the addictive portion or addictive
Or the high.
side of it? Or is it like, why cut it with
supposedly,
fentanyl?
again, I'm not a scientist. Supposedly it's like 100 times stronger than heroin.
Oh, okay. So it's
So-
for the high.
And then
It's cheaper too.
Is it being made in China and then kind of like through Mexico making its way up to
I think that's how it started.
Okay.
It started, it was being manufactured in China, just like most pharmaceutical stuff everything that we take is made in China. But they were sending it to Mexico, and then the cartels were pushing it up through, right? Now there's fentanyl manufacturer labs down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not a dope guy. I'm not like a narc. So I don't know like like a whole bunch of facts and statistics and like all these things about fentanyl, but it's a lot of it's out there. It's dangerous. It's very potent.
Well, what do you think the benefit is? Like, let's just kind of take it as like a business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just imagine, you know, fentanyl was just a product like any other product that you can pick up at Ralph's or, you know, Albertsons. Why is fentanyl so popular right now? Aside from the fact that it's, you know, it's 10 times more, 100 times more potent, like what you're saying. But if I'm a business like the cartel, putting this out there, there's now like a fear of everybody doing this drug that could possibly be laced with fentanyl. Is that bad for business?
Well, yeah. I would guess. I don't know what their end all is. It's cheap. It's cheap.
And
what it was started for, I believe it's a cutting agent. So no drugs are pure.
Yeah.
Right. American Gangster, the movie, right? They're bringing heroin over from Vietnam, and their stuff was like the purest,
Pure,
right?
right,
That's
right.
why they called it blue. What was it, blue magic or something like that?
I think so.
And because when they tested it, it would turn blue. Nothing else would turn that color because it was so pure.
So pure. Right.
Meaning that there's not a bunch of cutting agents in it. So in most drugs, methamphetamine, in pretty much all street drugs that you're going to find out on the street, it's cut with something.
Yeah.
So methamphetamine is going to have a bunch of stuff cut into it. When crack was big, right? The crack epidemic, there was very small amounts of cocaine in this rock, right?
Yeah.
It was cut with baking soda, they call it stepping on it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're buying a kilo of something, right, or a pound of something, you want to make a profit off of that. You're
make it last as long.
You're
as
gonna make
can,
it last
yeah.
as long as you can. And when you have fiends, dope addicts, you can cut. They're gonna put whatever in their body. They're already putting shit into their body, right? So you can cut whatever you want into that. If you have fentanyl, that's why I believe it started with heroin because it mimics that effect.
Oh, I see.
You can cut it into heroin. They're getting high.
Yeah.
They're getting more high, so they think, oh, this is good shit.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Okay, so you can
It's
take that
cheaper, so
same-
they can
people
cut
are
the
like-
cheaper stuff into
Yeah.
the heroin. Like, that's a drug dealer's dream, right?
So you can take this same thing, whatever you have, with a little bit of fentanyl that you cut inside of it. You could just expand whatever your what you have available to
could,
sell.
yeah.
So if we just just kind of go with me on this analogy, but if you had like a gallon of milk that you wanted to sell, and instead of taking that gallon and selling it, you just poured it out over other gallons of milk and
then
just
just
put
added
some
water.
water into it.
Yep, same
Now
thing.
you make that 1 gallon into 10
And if you're
gallons.
addicted to milk,
If
right?
you're addicted to milk,
and you just
can-
get that little taste of milk, you're like,
Yeah.
well, it's better than no milk.
yeah. So you can add that to all of these, these gallons that have been stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
Add a little bit of fentanyl. Now you're going to have that effect that you would have with the unstepped on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just kind of just been able to like divide that up.
But now,
So-
now
And
now
it's like
fiends
crazy
are.
dangerous though.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
now.
something in it that's like,
Well, it's
from-
just super, super strong.
yeah.
From what I've
It's
what I've
synthetic. It's
heard-
not. It's
Yeah.
manufactured. It's not like heroin comes from the poppy
yeah.
plant, right? This the
so this
the
stuff has
flower.
no
It's
regulation.
completely
There's no,
synthetic.
yeah.
So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the fentanyl where people get it, where it becomes deadly is because it's so potent that if it's cut but not cut up or distributed like out, and there's like a little chunk of it that you ingest, I mean that's where it becomes fatal. Is that kind of like right? Like if you,
Yeah, I mean, like, so none of us have ever done heroin. None of us have ever used. I mean, fentanyl, like medical professional use fentanyl.
it's got a
give it
use,
to 'em.
but obviously
Yeah.
not for
Yeah,
what
But
medical,
like-
for.
medical
but like
use
they're
compared
yeah,
to being cut with
yeah,
something.
but like that's regulated. All that stuff's regulated. The fentanyl that's out on the street, like it looks like chalk. Like it'll come in a brick. It looks like chalk. It's very hard if it's like crushed up to tell the difference between it and cocaine.
Yeah.
Apparently, some people are putting fentanyl in cocaine. I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah,
but,
it kind of
like,
seems like you'd be putting
maybe a drug dealer in a pinch and they're like, I got all this fetty, but I got to sell this blow. Like, I got to make some money. I owe some people money. I don't know. There could be a lot of reasons why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're they're not good people. They don't have great ethics,
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to realize,
So I mean, who's selling these? Who's selling?
what
the
people
drugs?
are
Who's
doing,
selling the
people are doing smoking straight. I'm doing the motion. They're smoking straight fentanyl now.
Really?
Yeah. It used to be in the heroin. Now they're not even using heroin. They're just
It's going
smoking
straight to the source.
fentanyl. Like they're just,
Wow.
which is just like, that's crazy. But a lot of the transient community is doing that. Like,
I guess the bigger question is, you work in the gang unit, and you see a lot of like the day-to-day kind of like gang activity. Like our gangs are still around. It's still a thing. People are still like, they're still monetizing gang activity, and how are they monetizing it?
100%. So gangs are still around. Criminal street gangs are still around. There's still making money. They're still doing all the things that they started out doing.
Yeah.
The only difference now is that, just like society changes, they change with society.
So how are they making a buck? Like, what are they?
So gangs in general, like, they'll be better at some things than others. Like, one gang, their thing may be, burning cars, burning houses, selling guns. Another gang, their thing might be selling dope. They might be to selling methamphetamine. Now the big thing is selling like the puff bars, the marijuana,
Like the vape pens?
the vape pens, the marijuana vape pens, because they can get them legally from certain, but because they're readily available, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard, like, to get it from a smoke shop, you have to be 21.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So these
They sell
gangsters
underage
are,
kids.
yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they use WhatsApp, and they use all these different apps to do it. And it's like they're openly selling like drugs on the internet, like, or on apps and the internet. And like I said, I'm not good at all this stuff, but
OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace, things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Like one of the guys' phones that we wrote a warrant for, and we got into his phone. We're looking at all this stuff, and it's just like, hey, I got this, and it's just people commenting and like, freaking, hey, bring me this mount, and it's like, this kid's 15 years old, and he's making a shit ton of money for that age.
Yeah.
For selling these marijuana vape pens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which are super strong, apparently.
Yeah. So they're these gangs are finding ways to make money.
Yeah, that's their main goal, is to make money. So, broader picture, like, I'll try to sum it up without getting too far into the weeds, but basically, you have the Mexican mafia, right? They're the top.
Yeah.
They're the top tier. Like, if you're, how many Mexican mafia members do you think there are?
Members? I mean, we're talking
If you're to
high
guess.
level, or just like, because there's a hierarchy, right?
Mexican mafia. How
10,000.
many? 10,000.
I'm going to say 2,500.
2,500?
Yeah.
There's less than like 200.
You're kidding.
Or there's like two, yeah.
So there is a hierarchy, though.
Mexican
correct?
mafia is at the top.
Okay.
So
and
if
what
you
about, like,
so
within the
so the
mafia?
Mexican mafia, when they came about, they wanted to be like the Italian mob, right? They tried to make it like
Kinda
them,
emulate that.
emulate that, right? Because they were successful, so they're like, oh, we want to be like them, right?
Yeah.
But it started in prison. Mexican mafia is a prison gang, right?
Yeah.
So La M.A., Mexican mafia, whatever you want to call them, they're at the top. There's like 200 of them, right? And that's like, I don't know the exact numbers because I don't work for CDC. Those are the bosses, right? Like, remember in Goodfellas when
they're like
what's his name, the short
shot
guy?
callers.
Yeah. What's the guy's name in Goodfellas? The short dude,
Joe Pesci?
Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
When he's like, I'm gonna go be a maid guy.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then he ends up getting whacked.
Yeah.
That's what a Mexican mafia member is. They're made guys.
Yeah.
Okay? They're all gang members. They all came from a neighborhood, whether it's from L.A., San Bernardino, Orange County,
But
wherever.
they've worked their way up.
But they worked their way up. So there's the Mexican mafia. They're the shot callers. They're the main guys.
Yeah.
Those guys dictate what goes on below them, right? They dictate what goes on in the prisons, which dictates what these guys do out on the street. Mexican mafia, then you have Serranos. Serrano is southerner in Spanish. So Serranos are like the soldiers for the Mexican mafia, right? And then you have Southsiders. Southsiders, if you're a gang member, if you're a Hispanic gang member in Southern California, you are a Southsider. All the graffiti around here, when you see OVC, OCC, Pearl Street, VML, they'll all have an X and a 3, or a 1 and a 3.
Yeah.
X is a Roman numeral for 10, 3, 13, right? So it'll have an X and a 3, a 1 and a 3, making 13. 13th letter of the alphabet is an M, paying homage to the Mexican Mafia. If you tag, if you claim that your gang has a 13 in the name, right? You are saying that you pay taxes to the Mexican Mafia. Okay? So every corner of these counties are accounted for, right? LA is split up. Orange County is not really split up. It's kind of run by one guy, one Mexican Mafia guy. San Diego split up. San Bernardino split up.
One dude runs Orange County.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's their areas. Their areas that they control.
Their territory.
Okay? Their territory. So they collect the taxes that come out of those areas. So the Serrano guys basically do the business for them, okay? Because some of these guys get out, they go out, they say, "Hey, I got the keys to this area. So and so has blessed me with this area. You pay taxes to me." They call it sending a third to the back. So you're supposed to cut off a third of whatever you make and send it to whoever you're supposed to send it to, right? And that's how the money gets to them. Yeah. These guys are making a lot of money. Yeah. Like a lot. There's a book called The Black Hand. It's written by Rene Boxer Enriquez, and he's a dropout from the Mexican Mafia, and he tells everything. Like, he was very influential in the Mexican Mafia, and he talks about everything. Very interesting if you're into that sort of stuff. Yeah. Good read. And it's factual. It's good stuff.
Yeah. He was on the inside. He knows like the day-to-day.
So, and the whole premises around it is you, as a gang member, you know you're going to go into prison or jail at some point. To have the protection of the Hispanics in there, then you have to play by the rules, right? Yeah. So if you are a gang member, you're expected to do certain things, and that's how they control it. Yeah. Right? It's by numbers. Yeah. And when I say Hispanic gang members, you don't have to be Hispanic. One of the guys that ran the Mexican Mafia, one of like the main dudes for a long time, was Joe Morgan. Joe Pegleg Morgan. Like, he was a white dude. Yeah. He wasn't Hispanic at all. He grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood, and that's how it was. Yeah. Like, when I worked the jails, there's a Hispanic guy, obviously a lot of Hispanic guys that in jail and prison, you're separated by race. Yeah. We say, "Hey, do you run Hispanic, Southside, or Paisa?" Like, that's what we ask them when they come in, because that dictates like where they go within the Hispanic community in the jail. It's wild, and like they do that to themselves. We have to ask those questions to keep them safe.
It's a self-selecting kind of group. Yeah. Like, they've created their ecosystem inside there.
So I've seen Asian dudes that say, "Hey, I run Hispanic." I'm like, "You're Asian, dude." I'm like, I'm Hispanic." Okay, go over there. The white dudes, "No, I run Hispanic." Okay, go over there. Yeah. When we say Hispanic gangs, it's because they use the Hispanic culture within their subculture, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, so does. Like, they'll, like Pearl Street, they say Perla, right? That's how you say it in Spanish. So they say Perla Street, or they'll put CPL, right? Calle Pearl, Calle Perla, Calle Street in Spanish. So they use a lot of Hispanic culture within their own gang culture, and a lot of it is racist. Like, it's what they used to try to get control in the prison system, in the freaking late 50s, early 60s. Yeah. If you've seen American Me, like that's what it is. So all that stuff still exists 100%. Is it more watered down now? Yeah, depending on who you talk to, yes. Yeah. I think it is. And
when
I
was,
think
like,
most of it is because of the cartel and what's going on in Mexico. Like they own all these Mexican mafia dudes. Like all these Mexican mafia dudes are working for them.
Really?
I think, yeah. I mean,
where-
that's what I've like. They're the little, like, they don't have any, like, cartels are the ones with the dope. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones with that are, running the drug trade.
Yeah.
They're working for them. Really,
That's where all the products come
they're working
from.
for them. And all the cartel sees those guys as is just another way to make money.
Minions,
They don't give it. They don't care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's as far as like Hispanic gangs. That's what that is. White gangs are pretty much, they're all just white supremacists.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are.
It's a quick summary.
But what's the business model for the white supremacists? Like, what's their? Are they
target young white kids who are confused, who are usually lower economic system. It's the same with all the gangs.
But are they just
target
kids?
kids?
For them, is it just ideology? Because I think
No.
for like white supremacy or white supremacists, it seems like it's more the ideology, whereas with other like gangs, it's like activity. So what's the white supremacists doing? Like, what's their business model, and how are they making money?
They're still making money just like all the other gangs. They just try to, their way of getting these kids to come into their stuff is through ideology.
Yeah.
And it's really no different than any of the other gangs, except they attach race to it.
Yeah.
That's
So are they running dope? Are they trying?
100%. And they work with Hispanic, like the whites and the Hispanics in prison, in jail, they run together.
Yeah.
Like they sell dope to each other. If these white guys were that racist and cared that much about that stuff, they wouldn't be working with these guys.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be selling dope to black dudes out on the street,
So
right?
this is
Like
like
it wouldn't, like they wouldn't be working with them. It wouldn't make sense.
So they're using ideology.
They don't care about that stuff really.
Yeah. They're using ideology to get these like workers in, and then ultimately it's the same kind of formula which everybody else has, which is sell this product, do X, Y, and Z to make some money. Now the Hispanics might get it like with Pride and like La M to get people like to buy into this like concept of gang activity or gang life and respect and all that other stuff, whereas the white guys are bringing in guys like based on like, like white supremacy. So it's both, they're both recruiting, doing the same thing ultimately. It's just like a different
in their own way,
different way of recruiting.
And don't get me wrong, like the Hispanic gangs are just as racist. They just don't have a swastika.
Yeah.
Like Swazis are like, they're just so, you see one, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like they're
pretty prominent.
It's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see Hispanic guys with brown pride tattooed on them, and you're more likely to go, whatever.
Yeah.
You see a white dude with white power tattooed on him, and you're like, oh shit, that guy's got some issues.
Yeah.
Right. So they all play off the same thing.
But to your point, like what you're saying is like everybody kind of has this moniker that they're putting up, but in the end, it's just about they'll make a compromise to that.
It's all about
in order
making
to make
money.
that money.
It's all about making money, and that's really how it got so watered down. Like these guys care more about making money than anything else.
Yeah.
Anything else.
And
that's why they have all these rules. The Mexican Mafia has all these rules, and they always break them.
Yeah.
They always break them, right?
Yeah.
But no one will hold them accountable. It's no different as us and our politicians.
Yeah.
That's all these guys are. They're
corrupt on every level. Even the criminals are corrupt.
No. And it's true, because all they want to do is make money off of these guys. And I try to tell, like, that's why I try to tell these younger kids that are gang members, I'm like, you really want to die for what it says on that street sign right there. Yeah. You're willing to die for that. You're willing to die for those 3 letters on your face or on your neck
Yeah.
or whatever, like you're willing to die for that. You're willing to put your life at risk or throw away your life, spend the rest of your life in prison for those 3 letters. Because really they're not. They just have friends, and usually these kids don't have a dad, don't have, or don't have parents, don't have, feel lonely or, they're no different than they might be a little bit different, but they're no different than the school shooter. Mm-hmm. They're really not. They're depressed. Yeah. They medicate with drugs. They're the same kid, they're walking around with guns too. Yeah. They're willing to kill some other kid just because of what? He's wearing a different color, he's from a different neighborhood. Like, how is that different? I don't see a whole lot there. It's nihilism, and that's what it comes down to. Yeah. And that's what these guys at the top, that's what they prey on.
They prey on that. What's your you have a magic wand and you can fix all gang activity, you can fix all of this stuff. What's the one thing that you can do to change, just to remedy that, just in a perfect world?
I don't think you can.
You had said something, interesting, something that I've kind of thought about a lot, which is, there's no parents around, there's no dad around. Mm-hmm. How important, or let me just back up instead of saying how important it is, how many of the people that you arrest or involved with, people like that you interact with, don't have dads? What are, like, if you just took a statistic, like, out of
I don't know the exact, if I were to guess, it's definitely a large percentage. Yeah. Some of them have stepdads, but they don't respect them. Yeah. It's just parenting in general. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old. It's not like I'm like some, experienced veteran parent, but it's like, you got to have interest in your kid. You got to, a lot of these parents are working 2 jobs, and it's societal. They're seeing things on Instagram. They're hearing things in their music, in their TV shows, in their movies, and they get inspired, or they think like, oh, I want to do that. I can get into that. Yeah. And if you don't have someone to set you straight or tell you like, no, that's not cool. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're going to continue down that. And I don't know, maybe some of the parents are just don't realize that how deep their kids are getting into stuff, or they don't want to believe it.
Well, or they themselves are in deep and they can't.
Yeah.
Well, on like talking about parenting, like how has, you said you had a 2-year-old, how has, being a police officer and seeing a lot of these kids, and because that's what they are, a lot of the people I'm sure you deal with, they're kids. How does that like affect your parenting or influence your parenting, if it has at all?
Yeah, it's totally different situations, like I'm thinking more of like the city that I work in, right? Like Orange, but like LA, like you have 4 or 5 generations of the same gang member, from the same Crip neighborhood, from the same blood neighborhood. Yeah. Like it's pretty wild to think about. Yeah. But yeah, it does to a certain degree. Like does
it change you? Has it like influenced
I'm trying to think
you?
like it definitely
leave an impression.
Well, I think I'm not naive to it, right? I think a lot of it comes from naive parents that are like, oh no, that doesn't really, like, they're not really doing that. They're little Johnny's just like, he doesn't actually do that. It's like, no, your kid is jacked up. Yeah. He's getting into bad things. Yeah. This little graffiti pen, this little marker, like just tagging his, do you know what he was tagging? Well, no, I didn't even know he did this. How do you not know he does this? Yeah. It's in every single folder of his freaking school workbook. Yeah. Like, how do you not know? How do you not go through his school stuff or like look at what he's doing for homework? Like, it's in every single folder. He's tagged all over it.
So have you and your wife discussed, because you guys have a young kid, like, and just to add on, like, your parenting, not style, but like, what would you do if you ran into
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
a certain situation where your daughter's maybe getting into something.
I think it has to. I
on?
think it honestly it starts from like early on. Like you have to distill in them like this stuff is not cool. Like no matter what anybody says, whatever you see, like it's not cool. This is the reality of it.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have to be smart about, what school you're sending your kid to too, which is unfortunate, but it's like, it's true, man. It's like, if you got to know where you're living, you got to be aware of where you're living.
Yeah.
If you don't pick your head up from your phone or from your iPad or whatever, I'm just using those.
Yeah.
And look around and have some awareness about things around you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a lot of graffiti around here.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that means something.
There's some gang activity around
maybe
here.
that means something. Or like, hey, like what is with these kids that are always on this corner? Like every day. Or standing in front of this one house. And they're all like smoking and drinking every day. Like, that's weird. Maybe I should tell my kid not to walk down that street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe I should do something about it. Like maybe
Be involved.
be involved. Like people have to like have some responsibility in like the city that they live in.
Yeah, their
and
community.
like their community that they
Yeah.
live in. Like you can't just expect everybody else to fix it.
This episode is brought to you by Palm Market. Palm Market was established in 1925. Located on Palm Avenue near the Circle of Orange, the new owners, Tim and Moose, are now the owners of the oldest establishment in the city of Orange.
Yeah, they've got some great sandwiches there. When I go, I usually get the kubini, which has braised pork, boar's head ham, mustard, pickles, Swiss cheese, all on a telera bread. This thing is lights out.
Very nice. I usually go with the Plaza. Add a little extra mayo, avocado, and bacon for me. But I did see Tim making a pulled pork sandwich that looked very good the other day.
Some good stuff.
And when I take my kids, we usually take some quarters, hit the gumball machine. If you get yourself an orange gumball, win yourself a free sandwich.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But they don't just do sandwiches there. They've got a wide selection of beer and wine. And if you go, tell them that Real and Field sent you, get yourself a 10% discount at anything at the deli. So visit Palm Market, visit their website at palmmkt.com and check out all the sandwiches that they have there.
All right, so here's just give us a quick story of a dangerous situation that you were in, and somehow you got out of it. Like, have you ever had to draw your gun? That's one question I know, police officer, because some have never had to do it.
Yeah.
You've had to draw your gun. Like, has there ever been a situation where in the middle of it you're like,
It's just, it's funny. Like I'm thinking about it.
I might
and
not get out of this.
I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I could probably tell you like a lot of stories or like things that aren't coming to me.
Yeah.
That would be like, most people would be like, man, that's pretty dangerous. Like, that's pretty crazy. But like, to me, it's like, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
It was a Tuesday.
so I'm like
before
trying
lunch.
to think. I'm trying to think of.
Okay.
So we had an active shooter on Glasell. It was like right next to the circle, right across from Phil's.
Wait, what was this?
Wasn't it?
Phil's?
Yeah, Phil's Coffee.
From
Yeah.
Filling Station? Across
Yeah.
the street from Filling Station?
Yeah, some
Yeah.
crazy dude went out and like shot off his AK. Pretty crazy. It was like an
Wait,
hour
when
after.
was this?
2021.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I do not remember that.
Yeah. But even then, it's like we showed up after and he never came out. But like, it's still stressful.
Yeah, an active
But like,
shooter?
well, the crazy part is we were at Phil's getting coffee like an hour before this dude went out and just
Just
capped
missed it.
off
Just
like
missed
2 or 3 rounds, and he was out front, and we were just like, man, that's crazy. Just an hour before, we would have probably
been
gotten
there.
into an officer-involved shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me try this question.
So we were on scene there for like hours and hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
Okay, let me try this one then. What has been the most successful, satisfying experience that you've had on duty? When have you've done something, maybe you saved someone, maybe you stopped something from happening, whatever it may be, and where you left and you were like, damn, like this is why Like, this is why I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anytime I've made good arrests, like some big cases, like been involved in big cases. I don't want to say I solved, like I'm not like a team thing,
A piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I'm only a piece of puzzle. So I wouldn't bring up stuff like that. Like I would say when there's times like you go to missing kid or something like that, and we find the kid.
Yeah.
Those things hit me more than like getting in some crazy like
Well, you're a dad, dude.
crazy stuff.
You're a
And
dad.
things that involve kids are way more touching. Like they impact. Yeah. Or like when you help someone who's been in like a lot of domestic violence stuff, or just like getting the shit beat out of them, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, like stuff like that. Kids that aren't being, the kid that on North End, like wasn't being taken care of properly, get him out of that situation, and just like stuff like that. Like that stuff, you feel good. It's like, oh man, I actually did something that's like, I feel good about. Like there's so many 2-bit gangsters that are going to show up with guns, dope. It's like that stuff happens all the time, and you try to help those kids. And truly, like, that's why I wanted to be like, that was one of the things that attracted me to like gangs and stuff like that. It's like, man, why do you want to do this? Yeah. What's your mindset? Like, why do you want to be a part of something like this? It's the whole reason I started talking to gang members in jail. I'd like, hey man, come here, and I'd shoot them like an extra lunch and a juice and or a burrito or whatever, and be like, hey, what's going on, dude? Like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I tell them straight up, like, hey man, I'm new. I don't know anything. Can you tell me? Like, can you talk to me about this stuff? And usually they're like, sure, and they just talk to you like. But yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's
having change, actually making a difference in people's lives is cool. Yeah. Like that's the kind of stuff, like I can't pinpoint one story or one thing that has like really like stuck with me. Like most of the things that stick with you are like the bad stuff. Fine. Like, man, I wish that we could have done something different there.
Well, it sounds like the common denominator in those things that you're talking about, people that have suffered like domestic violence, kids, things like that, even like gangs, people who are like, young kids in gangs, it's like people who are vulnerable. It sounds like, from what I'm like hearing, it's people who are vulnerable and like kind of victims of this kind of thing.
When you actually impact people's lives and you help them that's why you do what we do. Right? That's why you join it in the first place. So, dude, I don't want any recognition for anything that I do. Yeah, I got some award one time for doing something that I was like, this is my job. Like, what am I getting an award for? Yeah. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't need little pins on my uniform or anything like that. No offense to anybody who does that, but it's just
like the driving force within yourself.
I don't, and maybe that's a problem with me, but I don't care about accolades. I don't care about awards. I don't care about any of that stuff. At the end of the day, what I care about is helping people that need actual help, victims of things, and then and being there for my partners and what my partners think about me. Because when I retire, no one's gonna remember me except for the guys I worked with, and I just don't want to be like, man, Kyle sucks. I hate working with that guy. I don't want him, I just don't want that.
That's
good.
That's good.
No, well, this podcast will live on forever, you'll have this memory.
Yeah.
All right. The last question, and this is my brother-in-law's question. Jason, thanks for this question. What's the weirdest thing you found in someone's pocket that you were arresting?
Oh, man. So many weird things.
I love that question. Last one right here. Love it.
I found dildo,
No way.
and not on a woman.
No way.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Luckily, I had gloves on.
I was gonna say, man, did you did you touch that thing, raw dog?
Yeah,
Oh
I
man,
was in his pocket, the front pocket
was
too.
it a big one?
I mean, it fit in his pocket, so it wasn't that, it wasn't that big, but it was in there. Yeah. It was
What was
a
his
dildo
reaction
vibrator
when you
thing.
pulled it out? You just,
Tweakers don't care. They have no, they're like, yeah, that's mine.
That's my
No shit.
that's my dildo.
Yeah, that's going to go on my property, right? Okay.
I want that back.
yeah.
Tweakers, I don't know.
You.
Yeah.
I'm filming you
Yeah.
taking that.
Yeah. Tweakers are weird, man. They get into some weird sexual stuff. And
Oh,
they're
my God.
not tweakers. They don't care. Like they have no shame.
Yeah.
Like they are so far down. Like this, they have been embarrassed. They have been like they don't care anymore. Their family doesn't like they don't care, right?
Yeah.
Like
Embarrassment's a step up.
Yeah.
The last thing
yeah.
they're worried about.
The
is some
last
cop
thing
pulling
they're
out the
worried
dildo.
about is some cop pulling out a dildo from their pocket, and they're just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's the
You
least
know?
embarrassing thing
They all have stuff in their pockets, so they all have wild stuff.
All right,
If that's a way
dildo
to-
tops the list.
If that's a way to end an episode, I don't know how it.
Yeah.
All right, that was our episode. Thanks to Kyle Buchan from the Orange Police Department. Follow City of Orange PD on Instagram to follow all of the Orange's police activity. There's a lot of updates on there. I'll just give you all the lowdown that's happening in the City of Orange. That's our episode. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.